Hello, friends, it's Mr. Jim, and welcome back to Kid Short Stories. Did you know that we have an ad-free version of all of these stories? Yeah, go to heymrjim.com/premium to get your free trial of all of our stories completely ad-free. Today's story comes to us from Arlo and Callum. Hey guys, they sent me an awesome idea for a story, and you can too. Just head over to kidshortstories.com, send me your idea, and maybe we'll turn it into an awesome adventure. Are you guys ready for today's story? Me too, let's go! It was not only a beautiful day today, but it was also a very special day. Arlo and Callum were going to their grandpa's house. They loved going to their grandpa's house. I totally understand. I love going to my grandparents' house. How about you guys? Oh, it's so fun. What's your favorite thing to do at your grandparents' place that maybe you can't do at home? Sometimes maybe they might have a little bit more sweet things to eat. Am I right? Yeah. Or maybe there's something special that you get to do there. I remember growing up and going to my grandparents' house because that is where I got to go fishing, and I loved fishing very much. I still do, actually. Me and my boys, we love to go fishing together. Well, Arlo and Callum, they were excited. Their grandpa's place always had the greatest of mysteries there. There were a lot of old things and a lot of things that had some great stories behind them, and their grandpa was an amazing storyteller. Arlo, are you ready? I have everything that we need for the best day ever, said Callum. Yep, I'm just putting my shoes on, and then let's head out, said Arlo. Arlo and Callum climbed into their parents' car, and off they drove. They were going to spend the whole weekend with their grandpa, which meant it was going to be a ton of fun. As they pulled into his driveway, their grandpa was already sitting on a rocking chair on the front porch, waving his arms ecstatically. Hey boys, how are you doing? Arlo and Callum basically jumped out of the car before it even stopped and jumped into their grandpa's arms. Oh, wow, you guys are getting bigger, said their grandpa. Arlo and Callum grabbed their stuff and in they went and waved goodbye to their parents, and in their grandpa's house they ran. All right, well, what kind of adventures are we going to do today? Said their grandpa. Arlo pulled out a list from his pocket. Well, I was thinking we could do a ton of things, like maybe make cookies, or we could build a fort, or an adventure hike, or story time, or the last option is all of the above. All three of them laughed together. All three of those sounded great. Callum said, could we go on an adventure? Like, is there somewhere on your property that we haven't explored yet? Their grandpa thought for a second and put his chin in his hand as he thought. Well, yes. On the west side of the property, we haven't spent much time over there. There's a whole bunch of brush that's been overgrown, and maybe there could be some cool things from a long time ago in there. Yeah, strap on your shoes, grab some hiking sticks, and let's get going, said their grandpa. The three of them busted through the back door, and off the two ran. Arlo and Callum were a little bit faster than their grandpa, but their grandpa loved seeing them run and race. As the three of them all started heading west on the property, they could see up ahead exactly what their grandpa was talking about. Callum, do you see all that stuff? Whoa, look at all those vines, and wow, it's so thick, said Arlo. Callum was the first one there and said, guys, look at this. It's like a wall of ivy and sticks and trees, and I can't even get through. Well, I brought some pruning shears with me. Let's see if we can cut our way through, said their grandpa. As he started snipping away at the ivy and the leaves, Arlo and Callum grabbed on the branches and pulled them out of the way. They were right. It was like a complete total wall that was way too thick to crawl your way through. The only way in was to cut a path in. As their grandpa was trailblazing and cutting his way through, he formed a little bit of a tunnel that allowed them to maybe squeeze through. Arlo, Callum, why don't you guys crawl in first and take a look in there? Callum's eyes were really big. I don't know. What if there's some creepy crawlies in there? Arlo, you go first. Arlo took a deep breath and rolled up his sleeves. He got on all fours and started to crawl his way in. Yeah, there are some spiderwebs. There's a big one. He grabbed a stick and poked the spiderweb out of the way. There. Okay, it kind of opens up ahead up here. Holy smokes. Guys, you're not gonna believe this, shouted Arlo. The path that Arlo had been crawling through had finally opened up into a bigger section. He was now completely surrounded. It was kind of like a forest, but it was more like a dome of ivy and leaves and branches, but inside was something that he never expected. Arlo, are you okay in there? We're coming, shouted the grandpa from outside. It only took a few more seconds before Callum and their grandpa rolled into that room that Arlo was in. Whoa! Oh, wow. It was at that moment that all three of them were now standing inside of this forest dome. But inside, there stood an... Is that an RV? Said Callum. It was like a really old RV. Do you know what an RV is? Yeah, it's like something you can drive and live inside. It's really cool if you want to go on like long road trip adventures. And well, this one was silver and it was really old and covered in some ivy and dirt and sticks and stuff. But it was very surprising that this was there. Boys, I've never owned an RV myself, and I don't even know where this came from. Arlo immediately started pulling the ivy and leaves and stuff off of the door so that they could open it. There, this'll do. Bah! He finally got everything pulled off the door to the RV so that they could open it. Grandpa, do you want to do it? There could be like a skeleton inside, said Callum. All right, boys, stand back. Their grandpa grabbed onto the door handle and... As the door swung open, they were instantly hit with a wall of dust. Wow, look inside there, said their grandpa. Arlo and Callum poked their heads in the door and looked around. It was a very strange-looking RV, not a normal one. There were lots of screens and buttons, but everything was very old. All right, doesn't look like there's any skeletons in here. Arlo jumped in with Callum close behind. Look at all these buttons and holy smokes, what is this thing? Callum said. As they searched around and looked around, it was pretty amazing. All right, well, just be careful to not touch anything. I don't know what this is going to do, said their grandpa. And just then, Callum accidentally bumped into one of the buttons. Boop. Instantly, the whole inside of the RV was filled with all these bright, flashing lights. And the RV started to shake and buzz, and then it started to fly off of the ground. Ah! Everybody, hold on and sit down. Arlo and Callum jumped into some seats, followed by their grandpa, who buckled in, and instantly, the RV was now floating over the forest. Their grandpa jumped into the driver's seat, leaned back, and said, "All right, do you guys want to see what she can do?" "Yes, let's go!" shouted Arlo and Callum together. And off they blasted. This RV was actually some kind of magical RV that could fly around. And even though this is the end of our story, it's only the beginning of Arlo and Callum's great RV adventure with their grandpa. The end. Great job, you listened all the way to the end, and you know what time it is. It's time for Kid Shoutouts. I want to say hey to Easton and Sawyer from British Columbia, Bastian and Maggie from Phoenix, Sid from Hong Kong, Juniper and Arlo from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Sogol from Toronto, Katie from Illinois, Ethan and Abigail from Israel, and Owen and Jack from Minnesota. I'm so glad that you're all in the Kid Short Stories family and on our spy team. We could not stop Dr. Stinky Breath and his crew without you, my friends. Well, please, I would love to see your reviews on Apple Podcasts. So make sure that you tell me about your favorite episode. Well, friends, I hope you have a super duper day. I'll see you next time. Bye.